it is my pleasure to be here. I grew up in Osceola County. Although I'm originally from Long Island, New York, my parents transplanted myself and my siblings here when I was 11 years old, and so I've been in Celebration, around Celebration, since before it started and since it started. In fact, one of my real estate offices is here as well and has been for a number of years. And just even yesterday, my wife and I were out here over at Starbucks having coffee, and then I had a bunch of my friends in town staying over at the Bohemian here just Thursday and Friday night. So we spend a lot of time in the community. It's a community we've always loved, always appreciated. And truth be told, my wife and I would have lived here had we not already bought our land and designed our home, because Celebration was just getting started at that point, and we thought we want to build in here. This is how much we really love this community. But at the time, our daughters were still in school, and we didn't want to transfer them in schools. So we made the decision to stay where we are and build where we are, although you never know what the future holds. I may be your neighbor one day. That's how much I love this community. So it is my honor to be here. I do serve on the school board. You have a 5-member school board in Osceola County. I'm one of those members. Most people think that school board members, because we're elected from respective districts, that we serve respective districts, and that's not true. I'm an Osceola school board member, and you're Osceola County residents, and so that means that I represent your interests just as much as I do anyone else's. And so a lot of times when these type of conversations come up, people naturally think, oh, well, let's call the District 1 or District 5 or whatever number it may be for the respective area of the community, and have them come out and speak. And I've always told people it doesn't matter whether it's St. Cloud, BVL, Poinciana, Celebration, or anything in between. I represent all 350,000 people in Osceola County, and it's always my honor to speak to any one of our constituents about what we're doing in the school district. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to recognize our Deputy Superintendent, though, Mr. Tom Phelps, who is with us as well.
I'm really glad that
He's saving the applause for the standing O at the end, I imagine, right? But I'm always grateful. You know, we have really dedicated, really hardworking staff in the school district, and as you can imagine, his day starts early every single day. And for him to take time out of his schedule to be here just to support me and be available to you guys for any additional questions or any follow-up or feedback we need to do as a school district, I always appreciate that. We've got some of the best people in the county working for us.
Sorry to interrupt, you probably know, but he's also served on the Celebration Foundation Board.
We won't hold
Despite getting up that early, he still stretches his day out to try and keep a strong connection between the schools and Celebration.
Absolutely. We're not going to hold it against him that he serves on the foundation board at all. I'm kidding. So I will roll into the presentation, just kind of give you a quick update. A number of years ago, and I'll back up a little bit, when I was first running for the school board, one of the things that I found interesting was at the time there wasn't a comprehensive strategic plan for the school district. What was typically happening was a superintendent would create normally about 5 goals, present those goals to the school board, they would adopt them. It was almost a very loose approach, in my opinion. I have a background, I have a consulting company, and I do strategic planning for organizations and for-profit and not-for-profit, including some Fortune 5s. And so when I was running for the school board, one of the things I said is we're going to make sure we create a comprehensive strategic plan. We're the largest employer in the county, and I don't say that from a position of pride. I really wish there were larger employers than us in the county in the private sector, but just as a matter of fact, we are. We have a $1.2 billion annual budget as we adopted just last week in Osceola County. So my opinion is, how do you run a district of this size and this scale with a budget that large, with as many employees as you have and as many responsibilities as you carry, and not have a comprehensive strategic plan? So I'm happy to say that after I was elected, the former superintendent, who has since retired, Superintendent Melba Luciano, myself, Mr. Phelps, and a number of others, worked tirelessly to make sure we pulled together a strategic plan to really guide every single thing that we're doing, and of course that includes our budgeting process. Our current superintendent is Dr. Deborah Pace, who you may have met. She's a phenomenal superintendent. She actually grew up in our community as well, so she knows it extremely well. She's incredibly committed to it, but she's one of the best academic and education leaders that I've ever known. And so to have her as our superintendent is a tremendous blessing, not just to me as a board member, but all of us, including myself, as residents of our community. And she has carried that torch forward as well in understanding the importance of strategic planning. So very briefly, some of our shared beliefs that kind of undergird that plan is that all means all. We use that phrase a lot. It means that we're going to make sure that we serve every single student. There is no exception. When we say all means all, it means across the entire system, every student, every variance, every employee, every aspect of what we do. High quality school leadership is a top priority, and what we mean by that, as you can imagine, is not just classroom teachers, which are vitally important, but also academic leaders on the campus, so our principals and assistant principals. And the term we've used kind of jokingly internally is making sure we have all the right people on the right seat on the bus. We're all going in the right direction. We want to make sure we're the right leaders in the right places to make the right decisions. And the principals really are the academic leaders on the campus that should not just be administering the functional components of the school, the building, the facility, the budget, the staff, the personnel, but also the academic leaders who are really helping shape and lead and guide what's taking place. High quality school district leadership should be servant leadership. That is part of why I'm here, is I am your servant to represent your interests in the school board. And we believe that not just with us as a school board, but everybody that works with the school district as well. And that education is a critical lever in economic development. The term that I used before I was elected, and I've used since actually, is that education is a precursor to economic development. So if we want to get all the things right in our community, if we want to bring high wage jobs, if we want to have the right tax base, if we want to have the right structure in our community, if we don't have the right education system, we're not going to get there. And fortunately, everybody has fully bought into that mindset and concept as well. Our mission, as you can see, is inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens. We just changed that mission statement last year, or about 18 months ago, maybe sometime in that last year and a half. And our vision is a school district work in partnership with families and the community to ensure all learners develop the essential knowledge and skills to strengthen our thriving community. And I have to be honest with you, Celebration Foundation is a great example of what that vision really embodies, because you guys have been phenomenal partners with our school district in so many ways and so many initiatives. And I would be remiss if I didn't say on behalf of the entire school board, thank you. Thank you for caring as much as you do. Thank you for doing as much as you do. And thank you for being true examples of what partners look like. I will move through these quickly. We have 5 goals. I'm not going to run through everything in the strategic plan because you will be bored. But as you can imagine, academic success is our #1 goal and #1 priority. Talent management, so working with the more than 7,000 employees that work for us in the school district, is of paramount importance. Fiscal responsibility, and that includes making sure we always have an absolutely balanced budget. When I ran for the school board, that wasn't the case. There were deficit spending every single year and drawing down the reserves. I ran for the school board on one of those ideas, is that we need to make sure we get back to a balanced budget and we live within our means, just like every single household has to in our community as well. And that's a non-negotiable for your school board at this point as well. Community engagement, hello, I'm here. And then also governance. And we say governance, what we're talking about is making sure that we are operating at the highest level as a governing body. Our board, your board, is what's called Master Board Certified, which means that we are intentional about seeking specific training that's going to ensure that we know how to work with one another, how we're going to disagree agreeably, if you will, how we're going to bring our various opinions and ideas to the table, but still govern the organization without the discord and dissent that sometimes happens in elected bodies. Again, those of you, I know there's a number in the room that know me and have known me for a long time, and have also followed our school board for a long time, and you guys will know and recall that when I was running for the school board, it was not a high-functioning school board. It was pretty dysfunctional, and I ran with the idea that we bring civility and professionalism and respect back to how we govern as a body, and that has absolutely taken place.
Here.
Thank you. And my doesn't want to work. There we go. Just a couple quick points. I won't go through all this. I know it's a lot of words on the screen, but our graduation rate continues to improve. We continue to outpace the state. Our AP district honor roll is also on the rise, and we're continuing to do great things with that. We received honorable mention status for great teachers by the National Council on Teacher Quality. National Survey of District for pioneering the use of technology. We really pride ourselves on that, and I'll talk a little bit about some of our high-tech schools that we're developing and building and operating right now as well. Significant increase in our college going rate, and you guys know with the Got College initiative that you've been great partners with. This was something that was of major importance to us as a school board. If we looked across the Tri-County area, Osceola County had the lowest post-secondary enrollment rate of any county, meaning Osceola, Orange, and Seminole. And it wasn't just those 3. If we looked even broader, we'd see that we were lagging behind in other counties as well. So we've been working very hard since 2012 to today to close that gap. Remember that any numbers that you see regarding this are also lagging numbers as well. They're normally 2 years behind. But we are closing the gap, we are doing better, we are moving in the right direction and making sure our students are prepared to go into whatever their post-secondary choice will be. And this is post-secondary education. When I say what their choice will be, it's important for you to know that as a school board, we believe that every student needs to be prepared to be able to enter college, but we recognize that not every student is going to go to college, And college may not be the right choice for every student. Some may go straight into the workforce and become entrepreneurs like myself or others in this room. Some may go into the military and serve in that capacity. Others may take advantage of technical education and things like our Osceola Technical College, or what used to be called TICO in Osceola County as well. So we're making sure that we have a well-rounded student body that's advancing properly and has the right tools that they need to articulate wherever they're going to go effectively. Neo City Academy is on there at the bottom, by the way. I will touch on that just a little bit because we're physically building that school as we speak, and I want to give you guys a little bit of information on that. It's an exciting project. Just to give you a quick idea, from an operating standpoint, you can see that the primary source of our revenue comes from the state of Florida. It's allocated through what's called the Florida Education Finance Program, referred to the FEFP. So we are often very much beholden to what happens in the legislature by what we're able to do from an operational standpoint here in Osceola County. I show you that just to give you the quick visual, but as we go on, what you notice as well is that we are praised as a school district for how we use our dollars and making sure they get to the classroom and they're not spent on things outside of the classroom. An example of that is the blue portion of that pie chart. You can see that 76% of our budget, much like most other companies, human capital personnel is a very high cost at all of our businesses, but 76% is going directly to instruction and instructional support, so our teachers and our staff. You can see also that facilities maintenance and operations then takes up the next biggest chunk, and there's very little money left if you look at that pie to spread out into other areas, and it just gives you just a quick snapshot of how funding really is managed in a school district. So often people think, well, you have a $1.2 billion combined budget between our capital budget and our operational budget. Clearly you have enough money to do whatever you want with. But when you understand, number one, how heavy we are in personnel to make sure that we have the ratios that we need in the classroom for our teachers and our students, but also the limitations that are placed on how we spend dollars and where we spend dollars, you quickly understand that there's not as much latitude for a governing board like the school board as you might think, and how we're going to direct those resources. The reason I mentioned that we're praised as a school district is what I want you to see is that out of 67 school districts in the state of Florida, many of you may know this, but there's 67 school districts because there's 67 counties. And in the state of Florida, a school district is made up of the county. I know that's very different from a lot of places that many of you may come from. I'm the president-elect for the Florida School Boards Association, which means I'll be the president of the State School Board Association in 2019. And then I work with the National School Board Association as well. And so I work with school boards from all across the United States. And there are very, 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 very small school districts all across. But when you come to Florida, it's a little bit unique when you compare it to the rest of our union, meaning that we have large school districts. All that said, though, we are funded 65th out of 67 school districts in the state of Florida. That's not a brag point, that's an information point. That's not something we're proud of. In fact, it's something we're frustrated by, to be really honest with you. Part of that has to do with our lower property tax base, as you can imagine as well. The Florida Education Finance Program is a very long, I would say complex, but it's basic math, but very complex formula that ultimately derives what it is each school district receives on a per student basis for funding. When you factor all that in, we end up ranking 65th out of 67, and we are not proud of that whatsoever. That's not a function of anything we aren't doing, or you aren't doing per se. It's a function of the formula, and your school board's working now again with the legislature to try to find ways to rectify that. The reason, though, that I also touch on this is that we are ranked 67 out of 67 when it comes to our administrative costs. So what does that mean to you? It means that we are directing our resources to the classroom, to the students, and we are the district in the state of Florida that's spending the lowest amount of money on administrative costs and overhead. And that is a brag point. That is something that we're proud of, and we would want all of you to be proud of as well, that you can feel confident that you not only have a school board, but a leadership team that really makes sure that all the resources that you're entrusting to our care is being directed in the area where you know it's going to have the biggest impact, and that's right in front of the students, making sure that learning is taking place. As we move on, you can imagine that growth is continuing to happen. As many of you may know, it may not be something you're excited about, or maybe it is, but Osceola County is one of the fastest growing counties in the United States of America. We traditionally have been for the last couple of decades. Of course, we had a blip in there with the recession, as did most. But we continue to grow, and we're in the top 3 in the state of Florida, top 10 in the United States. And in fact, most of our growth that we're projecting is actually planned to happen on the west side of town, which is part of where we are now. We're currently, as you know, going to be building a school in Celebration at Island Village, and I'll touch on that. And we're also looking for opportunities to build additional schools on the west side of town to relieve our west side K-8 school. There's 3 charters that are operating over on the west side right now, 4 Corners, which serves Lake, Orange, Osceola, and Polk counties. And then there's 4 Corners Upper and Lower, which kind of all come together to serve that entire network. And those are all west of us, pretty much right on the county line, Ronald Reagan and 27, kind of over in that area if you're not familiar with it. As you can see, we have 4,700 students housed in portables. That's much higher of a number than I like, but I have to tell you that is a far less number than is historic. We have been very intentional as a school board to make sure that we are building and repurposing as many student stations and brick and mortar facilities as possible, and ensuring that we're not spending money on portables or portable leases. One of the reasons for that is that, as you can imagine, if we're going to bring portables in, number one, we're probably going to rent those for the first place, but the other part is we have to do all the underground and infrastructure to make sure that the services are there to ultimately provide utilities, electric, sewer, water, all those type of things. Putting that underground in is expensive, and that's a temporary housing solution for us, if you will, for those students. So we are trying not to spend any money anywhere we don't have to on that. We want to make sure that we're ultimately using your dollars to build permanent student stations. An example of that is a few years ago we weren't able to build a new high school, but we went in and did some repurposing at Celebration. We built a wing at Poinciana High School. I know there's another wing somewhere else that we built in the high school arena, but we're always looking to say how can we reconfigure space within a school to make sure we're maximizing as much as possible. So when you look over the next 10 years, we're projected to get another 14,000 to 15,000 students in the state of Florida. And as we sit right now, it's about 67,000 students that we have. We are, I believe if my memory is correct, we're the 14th largest school district in the state of Florida. And I want to say that we are in the top, I looked at this not long ago, I want to say it's in the top 50, but I actually think it's far lower than that in the United States. And we're continuing to grow. So what that means is that the strain on us as a school board, us as a community, is going to continue. How do we keep up with this growth, and how do we make sure we're providing not just the space for students to learn in, but also the staff to make sure that we can continue to provide the caliber of instruction that they deserve and that they need. And as mentioned, most of this is planned for the west side of the county.